Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining Power to Fly in our chat and learn today. We are so excited to discuss why top performing employees or professionals care about company culture. We're so excited to talk about our presenter here today. But before I introduce them, let's go ahead and go through our house rules. So we ask you to participate. Turn your cameras on, turn your microphone on. We would love to hear you and answer any questions that you have. You will show up on the live recording if you do come off your microphone. Also, note, this is being recorded. So we're going to send an email out to everyone with the link if they weren't able to join us. Also, write in the chat, we're going to have an interesting discussion here today with Dimana. So if you have any questions that you'd like me to ask on your behalf, go ahead, put them in the chat and I can read it off anonymously. And then keep up with us on social. Follow us at Power to Fly on all platforms. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the good stuff. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. So let's get started, yeah? So today we have Dimana here with us. Dimana is the co-founder of GenWork, a female-led startup focused on building innovative company cultures and implementing effective diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies. Dimana is a passionate social entrepreneur who believes in driving change through compassion, hard work, and determination. Love that. Her vision is a more equal and diverse work world where, we come with our own experiences and she saw the flaws in the corporate machine and how toxic company culture was, and it can be detrimental to your own mental health. So Dimana believes that we can influence change through education, awareness, and constructive discussion on all levels. We're so excited to have you here today, Dimana. Do you want to say hi quick before we go over takeaways?
Hi. First of all, it's Dimana with an
Dimana,
A.
sorry.
It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes with my name. It's unusual. I'm excited to be here. It's my first chat and learn with Power to Fly. And like you said, like I work in the sphere of company culture, and it's my favorite topic right now because it's so, I told you already, it's so on point and it's like so important right now.
Yeah. Totally relevant. We love it. And our questions are so relevant to today's climate. So
Yeah.
some takeaways that we're going to discuss today is company culture in the new hybrid work area, why people quit their jobs for better work environments, and what companies can do to address employees' well-being. So should we dive into Mana?
Let's
Awesome.
go.
Okay, question one. Here we go. So how would you suggest evaluating company culture? What are the key indicators in a healthy work environment?
Like I told you, this is really one of my favorite topics right now because it changed. It re-emerged as a notion since the start of the pandemic. Because before that, we didn't care that much about company culture. We sort of accepted the workplace as it is. We had our routine, go to work, come back, and that's it. But when company culture came, re-emerged as a notion during the pandemic, the shift from the importance of the employee became more visible. And now we really care about how we construct our workplace. And I'm sorry, just to say I'm a little bit sick, so apologies if I lose my voice in the middle of conversation. Ultimately, the workplace is the place where we interact. And the company culture is how we behave in this workplace. It's this relationship between the organization and how we live in the organization, how we exist in this ecosystem. We often categorize company culture as good, as bad, but it's important to know that no company has it completely sorted out, right? They're always like somewhere in the middle. It's from the decisions that are made, how they're made, how disagreements are voiced, for example, how conflict is resolved, how people connect, and how they even pass each other in the hall when you're in the office. Or it comes down to this like really little things. If you're comfortable to display your personal stuff on your desk, how comfortable are you to share personal things with the people around you? And not all companies have this figured out. And the ones that don't have it figured out, they should really pay attention to things. But if we're talking about the, let's say, the elements of a healthy company culture, in case you're looking for a job or you're doing your research and you want to change your workplace, you should be looking for example, how the company communicates its purpose and value, what meaningful work they give to employees. Their companies or teams, for example, that only have administrative work or data entry or something that is very monotonous and boring. And leaders should know how to reshuffle this workload to provide people with a little bit different responsibilities that can engage their creative side, for example. It's important in like healthy company cultures for leadership teams to focus more on the employees and on their team members instead of on themselves. People should be allowed to build their relationships and their networks within the company to feel comfortable, as well to share who you are as a person. You can have, a healthy company culture where you have top performing teams, where people are productive and engaged and they feel supported by the companies. Because if you have, top performing cultures, ultimately that will benefit the company. You're going to have a better product, more sales, you're going to make more money, right? So this benefits everyone. And the last thing that I can think of, and one of my favorites for healthy company cultures, is how you resolve your conflicts, in a constructive way. Because inevitably you're going to have a conflict, right? Like it appears, it happens every day. You can't have perfect utopia where everybody's happy, but it's important for management to communicate and to resolve that conflict in a constructive manner so that you know where the problem occurred, how to make the employee happy, and how you can move on. Just as an example, I had this case recently that I came across where an employee of quite a big organization was really unhappy. He was completely dissatisfied with the team, with the work. He felt isolated. He felt discriminated by his bosses. And he tried to communicate all of that. And he tried to talk to his HR department, to his superiors, to all of, like, it went almost all the top to the CEO. And nobody, apologies, nobody responded to him. Everybody ignored him, which eventually resulted in liability issues, in potential lawsuits, in money losses. So that was a clear example of how badly something like this can be managed and how, in a way, toxic a company culture can be.
I love that you really started off with setting expectations, right? There's no place that's perfect and has it all figured out. But, as we are building this positive company culture, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see when you come across a really archaic company culture?
Yeah, this the change has been happening, right, for the last few years, where it became clear that archaic company culture, the old model of the rigid workplace, is just not working for people anymore. The biggest challenge, quite honestly, I see it as the leadership, the old style leadership that prevents the change of company culture. If you take as an example big corporations that are usually the ones that drive change because they're the most visible, they I'm really sorry. They have their leaders on top that are comfortable in their positions, right? They have certain, I've said, like, characteristics, they're at certain age, and they're male, and they're white, and they got there when they got there, and they don't see a reason to change any of this. I've talked to CEOs and managing directors of companies when we tried to tell them and consult them and be like, you have to change something. Your people are leaving, like people are unhappy. You have horrible reviews as an employer. And all of them are like, why should I care about that? I have my money to make. I have product to sell. So it's not really, it's not something that I should care about. And this is one of the main challenges for companies. I'm sorry, when I talk a lot, my throat gets dry and yeah.
No problem at all.
Sorry, this is the quote that my kids brought me from kindergarten, and it's hitting me exactly at the wrong moment. So, the biggest challenge, it's those old company cultures that, for example, like you said, they're based on results only. I feel so awkward right now.
You're okay.
I would just like mute for a second.
Yeah. So as we can kind of shift over to, what does this archaic company culture look like, right? So when we talk about, folks working late and prioritizing work over personal life, we see leadership doing this all the time. And oftentimes, like those that are, crossing those personal boundaries, it's perceived as positive, right? It's perceived as being a hard worker. So how do you tackle that when that behavior is reinforced and oftentimes incentivized?
I find that if you really want to change any of that, it starts with self-reflection. So first, you have to analyze your company, how it functions. And then you have to analyze your leadership. How do you interact with people? Do they trust you to be their leader? How do you manage your company? And then when you combine that, then you have to ask your employees, look at them and see if they're motivated, if they're engaged, if they're productive, if they're willing to stay in the company. You can ask them questions, you can ask for feedback, you can create anonymous surveys, for example, to collect all the information that you need for the self-reflection in order to understand what's wrong. Once you have this information, then you have to create sort of like a vision of what you want the new company culture to be, right? How do you want to move on? What are the next steps that you want to take? And then when you have this vision, then you have to communicate it to your team and to your company, and you have to make the first steps for this new change. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's not from today to tomorrow. We communicated with an email, bam, like sent all, and as of tomorrow and Monday, we're a new company. It takes time to build trust with the new with the new, in a way, new values to set place, and for people to really believe that you want to change. But it's something that if you want to, step into the future and really be an attractive employer, to really invest your resources. And yes, it takes money. Unfortunately, it does take resources to do all of these things.
I love that. It does take money. You really do have to invest with your values.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting is, as we talk about company culture and we talk about workplace environments, we've always, up until maybe 2020, talked about folks that are all in the office, right? A lot of our strategies approached a live in-person workforce. So how would you make fully remote employees in a startup possibly? How would you create that culture of appreciation and inclusivity?
I love the question because, like you said, it's on point, and it completely changed from full in the office, and this new notion of hybrid and fully remote emerged suddenly as the new normal. And employees have the right to demand, just because I can't work in New York, for example, and I'm in another city, that doesn't mean that I can't get the job. I can contribute really well to your team. And before, like, we built, inclusivity and relationships because of proximity. You go to the office and you have this like circle, let's call it circle of trust around you. You have left and right, you have people, you have in front of you, you have behind you, diagonally, you have this group of people that you're close to. They're your friends, you share things with, you share jokes with, you go for coffee or lunch with, you can do sports together. And all of a sudden, with the pandemic, when we went away, everything kind of died out. And people realized, firstly, that they really like solitude, which was very funny. And second of all, that they don't feel like being bothered to actually communicate with anyone, right? Everybody's just like, I'm going to sit on my computer, I'm going to be like just working all day, and I'm just not going to communicate with anyone. And all of a sudden, you have employees that are working remotely or hybrid, who are completely excluded, and they feel excluded. So to bring them back in, you should not, first of all, force them to come to the office, but you should make them understand the shared purpose. What are they doing exactly? How their work is important. Why are they building this product? Why are they promoting what they're doing? How they're part of the team, and how their work, really matters. Then we have to talk as well about accountability. This is important because many people assume that if you are home, you're not really working. Very often, like, we think, or I don't know how it's in US, I'm in Europe, and here, when you work hybrid or remote, it's still like, they're not doing anything. They are just home and they're dilly-dallying and they're just having coffees and watching TV all day. And this is so wrong, because you often end up doing more work than actually if you're in the office. But you have to make people accountable for what they're doing. So if you're given tasks or projects, you're responsible, right, to deliver quality and to deliver on time, because it has consequences. And you're part of this chain of events, right? Like, if you don't deliver your thing, another person might not deliver theirs, and it has all like giant consequences. So for remote workers to feel included, you have to make sure that they know that their work matters. What they do from 9 to 5, it's important. They contribute just as anyone else who is in the office. Yeah. And the last thing that I think is important is that the manager's leadership has to be accessible and visible for these employees. So that means that you have to schedule meetings with them one-on-one to see how they're doing. You should encourage them to network, to participate, for example, in virtual events. You should treat them fairly as well. If you're a manager in the office, and you're having lunch with your teammates there, then send them lunch, for example, at home, right? Or give them a complimentary lunch. Just in general, really communicate with these people on a daily basis continuously.
100%, 100%. So, with folks wanting to have a hybrid or a fully remote position, and we have some companies that aren't necessarily providing that option, and we're seeing the Great Resignation or the Great Reshuffle. In your experience, what are some other, I guess, main reasons that employees are leaving their current positions?
Yeah, the Great Resignation, right? This is something, actually, it didn't start with COVID, it started before that, but it really accelerated during COVID, because people realized it's not just work and pay, we need something more. And that something more can be work-life balance, can be flexibility, can be additional hobbies or personal projects. It can be, whatever every person needs. So when the company doesn't satisfy that, people start leaving. For top performance to start leaving their company, that means that something has really gone wrong. One of the reasons could be that they don't feel respected. They feel that the boss that doesn't trust them. If someone is over controlling you, over monitoring you, we have these bosses that they install these programs where they see how your mouse is moving, and there's zero trust in that. And nobody wants to work in an environment where you're constantly controlled. That means that they don't trust you, that they, as a person, as a worker, they don't believe that you can deliver and that you're loyal to the company. And when you feel like that, this environment becomes toxic. Many people still do leave because of low pay. combine that with toxic environment, if you're not paying someone according to industry standards, they're just going to go. Then we have poor company culture, my favorite example. If people just feel that their workplace is toxic and they don't feel, valued, they overworked, they have burnout syndrome, they have way too much piled on top of them, then this becomes just a place that you don't want to spend your time, and also there could be lack of growth opportunities. For example, if you're stagnated and you're doing the same job over and over for a really long time, no matter how much you love it, and if the company is not giving you an opportunity to progress and to grow, why would you stay there? You can start looking for a job somewhere else. And very often it's leadership. It's poor leadership. It's if we have a bad boss, and there's no good relationship, there's no communication there, that can make people want to quit as well.
100%. So, as employees are, viewing these roadblocks, some are looking for those new opportunities, right? Just as you said. So, from an employer standpoint, if you know that an employee is looking for a new position, what are some ways to turn around that bad experience and make them stay?
I think the email that every employer dreads, like your top performer writes you and he's like, I resign because da 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 da, right? And it feels like a slap in the face. And even if you're not great friends, you still you get hurt, and it feels like a betrayal a little bit. And you start wondering, what happened? Do you make another offer or counter offer? Like, how do you keep those good performers in the workplace? So what I mentioned just now, the first part is to have good leadership, right? It should be, as a boss, you should be more development oriented instead of just managing. It's not about just like do this task and finish it on time. You should also concentrate on that employee, how you can develop them as a person, how you can grow them, right? People often say, we leave the bosses, not the company. And this is absolutely true. If you have a great boss, people would be willing to stay even for a lower pay. But if you have a toxic relationship with your boss, that every day becomes unpleasant, and eventually you're going to want to leave, right? And this bad boss will not do anything to stop you. So that, effectively, it affects your business operations. You can start losing money and stuff like that. So poor leadership is very crucial here. Then we have your circle of colleagues. People also care who they work with. If you have a good circle of relationship, a good, like, how to say it, like good network at work, good relationships, people would be more willing to stay because emotionally they feel more connected with the organization through the colleagues, right? So the work takes kind of like second place, and the colleagues are more important. And if they don't have a good relationship with the colleagues, they will feel that there's no connection to the organization. And the last thing would be the most fundamental one. There's no progress, there's no place to grow, there's just stagnation. And if the company doesn't offer any of these opportunities, eventually people will just start leaving. So as a boss, you should provide them with these tools for them to grow professionally, personally, to develop new skills, to learn something new, so that these people can also become for themselves to feel more marketable as well. These are why I would say people really go, and what can be changed as well.
Yeah, I mean, like managerial style has such a huge impact on employee experience. And so, we talk about being concerned about employees sharing their needs, comments, feedback, concerns. How do we, as the employer, as the manager, create safe spaces for our teams to share their needs with us?
Yeah, those became important, right? Because during COVID, for the last 2.5 years, we realized how important not only our physical health is, but our mental health as well. With hybrid and remote work, there is a lot of isolation. So you will need this safe space to address, for example, how you're feeling. A lot of organizations, for example, they provide the safe spaces in terms of like a quiet space, a relaxation space, for example. They have different apps or softwares where people can share what they feel or their concerns. We're talking about, the workload. If you're dissatisfied with your job at the moment, if you want career promotion, or you feel burnout, and your company should provide you with the safe space to be able to address that. So again, it comes down to communication. It comes down to the company being open to provide this space, to show to the employee that they can share, and that they will be listened to. Because how to say it, during the day when we have so many meetings, everything is cramped in the schedule, so you can have like a work call, then you have this special call to address your needs with your boss, and then immediately you have another call. So after this special call, this safe space, let's put it like that, after that, you don't have time to reflect on what you said. You don't have time to see how you can improve yourself. So this is up to the manager to actually extend this, in a way, hybrid safe space, I would say, this like virtual safe space where you can reflect on what your needs are and what you can do to improve your situation. And of course, I would say like leaders should provide you with the tools, the resources that the company has. So that can be counseling services, for example, or it could be like some wellness benefits or some mental health and physical health guides, for example, or anything like that. But, it's important to say that this doesn't mean that managers should be your emotional trash bin. You don't just call them and be like, I want to talk about my wife and my kids and how frustrated I am. You should set boundaries, right? You should know that you're here to discuss your work-related issues, but we're not here to discuss anything else in your personal life, right? So there should be boundaries set, and the employee should know how far they can go in really using this safe space.
And I mean, you brought it in such a great transition. Outside of a manager's relationship, inclusive benefits are one of the top listed needs for employees, especially I know in the US, a lot of folks are looking at health insurance benefits right now. Whether it be, women's health benefits, LGBTQIA plus community health benefits, like ensuring that these are inclusive of every community. So what are some of those benefits that a company can offer employees besides PTO and health insurance?
Yeah. Depending on budget, of course, and depending how big your company is, these benefits can be different from financial. For example, you can offer company equity if your company is big enough, of course. You can offer retirement plans. These are more, I would say, for larger corporations, not really for startups. If you're a smaller company, you can have employee discounts, let's say, or some rewards and bonuses. One of my favorites are all benefits connected to education and career development, because those are so important. And like you said, it's not only about pay and health insurance and PTO. It's, you want more, you want to develop as a person. So let's say you want to improve your skills into something. If the company has the budget, they can reimburse you, let's say, the tuition for that. They can provide you with an employee growth plan. This doesn't cost any money, and it's actually beneficial for the employee and for the company, because that's how you grow your people internally. You can also have, again, free of charge career development and personal development, for example, guides. Then the wellness benefits, those are very appreciated, I would say, for remote workers, because it's important for them to get out and to do something for themselves. You can give them once a month complimentary lunch, for example, or some wellness options as like gym memberships, for example, or discounts. They can have relaxation spaces, or what we have said for safe spaces like counseling services or discounts to counseling services. And then for your top performance, it's important to have appreciation rewards. So to show them that they're doing a good job. That could be employee of the month. It doesn't cost you any money. That can be different employee appreciation programs as well, depending on what the needs are and the employees. And for working parents specifically, this is so important, flexible schedules and work from home options when necessary. This is something that working moms and working dads definitely appreciate.
Yeah, it's so true. I feel like, whether you have a massive budget or no budget at all, there are things that you can do to and improve that employee experience. So,
Yeah.
wellness is a huge buzzword right now when it comes to culture. But what do you believe employees value the most when it comes to a healthy workplace culture?
I think that right now, work-life balance, from a personal perspective, let's put it from two perspectives. I think work-life balance and flexibility are very important, because what the last few years showed us is that before you had to beg for work-life balance, the pandemic showed us is that it's totally achievable, and you can go and grab it, and you should demand it because it's important. It's your right, right, to live outside of the company, to have this something more to drive you. Your life is not just from 9 to 5. It's much more than that. So you should be encouraged, even by your by your employer, to take care of yourself and your hobbies. On a more, how to say it, wider perspective, I think people care about the values of the company very much, especially now the new employees, the millennials, Generation Z. What is the generation after that? Like I have no idea. But
X or no, Z. No, I don't know what's
no,
after.
Gen Z, and after that, there's like two more. I'm not sure.
I'm not
So,
sure.
yeah, but like these younger people that are now entering the workforce in their early 20s, they really care about all of these things. They care about the social impact of a company, for example. They care about diversity and inclusion. They care about even like their political endorsements and political impact. And this is very important because through the company they feel that they're making a social change as well. So this is yeah, they care about gender equality, they care about ethnic diversity and age diversity and all of kinds of diversity, that the company should really address, and they're taking their sweet time addressing.
So, as we are talking about those different generations, let's get super innovative, super fun, and think about what work looks like in 10 years. What do you predict, or what do you want to see workplace
Oh my God.
look like?
Yeah. What work looks like in 10 years? I think that we're gonna go more and more into the remote model, I would say. I know big companies are gonna try and fight it for people to go back into the office, because those old archaic managers are still there and they have their followers. It's not like they're completely going to disappear. A lot of leaders have the tendency to want to be fully in control, and you control your workforce by forcing them to come to the office. Thankfully, we have this new generation that has embraced this new model, and they want to shift things. They have to shake it up a little. So thankfully, in 10 years, they will be the CEOs and they will be the managing directors that we hope will change those things in terms of company culture. When it comes to diversity and inclusion, I hope things will be solved. Let's put it like that. I hope we will not be still solving those issues, because in 2022, it's crazy that we still need quotas for things that we shouldn't need quotas for. I hope that we'll have gender equality without having to force boards to accept women on them. I hope we're going to have ethnic equality as well, without having to force people to hire people of color, but they will be just the natural choice. I really, really hope that this will happen. How optimistic I am, things are moving way too slow for my liking. But you know what? I'll try to be optimistic. Let's put it like that. Let's hope that in 10 years, the generation that we are influencing right now and that we are raising, because I have 2 daughters, that they will be the ones that really bring this change without having to, question all these shifts that are so needed.
Thank you so much. I want to say your insights have been so helpful as we tackle and try and get our minds around this virtual and hybrid company culture. We've left it open for Q&A a little bit. I do have one question that's come in around company culture, and when we talk about company wellness and what that could look like in the future. I'm curious if you have any thoughts around how the employee wellness experience could possibly innovate.
Yeah, let us know if you have had any experiences and maybe how your boss has addressed it, or how you would like it to be tackled, for example, or the company culture that you work in right now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dimana. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Good.
Awesome. Cool. It was so great meeting you and hearing all of it. Oh, we have one more question. Sorry. Are you all right? We can do one more. We got one in the chat. Let me read it off from Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly asked, are there any specific types of events or programs aimed towards remote worker engagement? Any recommendations on how to get buy-in from executives and provide budget for these events?
What I have noticed that people engage in this like after work drinks, for example, where you gather your team of remote workers and they meet for really informal event after work hours, and usually for around an hour they can have a drink or a glass of wine, and it's really informal, and they're encouraged to network with each other, where the boss can be either present or not, depending on how you really want the vibe to be. Something that actually works is to do the event during work hours, actually, because that relaxes people a little bit more. It makes them feel more included. It shortens their workday. And if you do the event, for example, from 4 till 6, let's say, or from 5 till 6, it creates this like more positive vibe for the day. It works definitely in the office, right? When you're celebrating something, for example, and you have, let's say, a party at like 4 p.m. I had it in my old company, and it really is a great opportunity to network and to connect with your colleagues. So you can do the same with your remote workers. And how to do the buy-in from executives to provide budgets for stuff like that. Well, just the same as any team building, I would say, and the same as how to say it, for inclusivity purposes, to provide them with for a budget, let's say, to order from a restaurant the dinner that they want, let's say, and you give them the budget, and they can order from any restaurant they want, let's say. So if you have a budget for a restaurant for your in-office team, you should be able to have budget for the colleagues that are remote as well. That should be just calculated. For the buy-in, to be honest, depends on your manager and how open-minded they are about those things.
Totally. As we wrap out, can you let us know where we can connect with you? LinkedIn, website, where can we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn. Dimana Mabhena. I'm going to write my name here on LinkedIn. I don't use like Instagram or Facebook or something like that. And you can visit GenWork.cz. This is our website, which we are reconstructing and refreshing right now. So in about like 2-3 weeks, we're going to have it completely new. But feel free to come even now or in a few weeks to visit us.
Great. Thank you so much.
No
Thanks
problem.
everyone for joining us. Come to the next Power to Fly chat and learn, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.